let's take an example of a student at university being given a writing task. Let's imagine an economics student. Discuss the importance of foreign exchange rates in determining the growth of GDP in both developed and developing economies. And the student is supposed to write between 4,000 and 5,000 words. Right. Let's just imagine we've got two students. The first student writes 5,000 words. They're a keen student, they're a good student. They say, oh, well, it says between 4,000 and 5,000. I'm going to be at the top. I'm going to write 5,000 words. Maybe they overshoot a little, and then they okay, let's do it. Do it exactly 5,000. And they think, yeah, I've written a lot. I'm going to get a good mark. And they hand it in to the professor, and they think, I've done well here. And they come back with a terrible mark from the professor. And why? Because they've used 80% redundancy. They didn't know they were doing that. They just did their best. They wrote 80% redundancy. What does that mean? Well, it means that there are 1,000 meaningful words in that essay, and there are 4,000 redundant words. There are 4,000 examples of repetition, tautology, periphrasis, whatever, commentary, blah, 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 blah. And the second student has also written 5,000 words. But in that case, they've written 5,000 words with a 20% redundancy. So at the top end of what I said you should be aiming for, but these are undergraduates, so you can't expect it to be too academic for an undergraduate. So they've got 20% redundancy, that's all right. And I'll tell you why it's all right. You can see why. Because they have 4,000 meaningful words and only 1,000 words of redundancy of blah, 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 whatever. So the second student has written an essay that is 4 times better than the first student. Mathematically, simply, it's 4 times better. That's it. You can prove it. It's 4 times better. And it's all because of the redundancy level. And the first student, who was expecting a good mark, sees this from the professor, and the professor says, well, you did not go into enough detail about developed economies. You needed more examples. And especially, you did not mention anything about government strategies to control exchange rates or something like that. I don't know anything. Some economic. There is some important point that is just not in the essay. And that first student is really upset and angry and say, but I wrote 5,000 words and the professor's telling me I needed to put this in and that in. How could I put that in when I'd already written 5,000 words? And maybe the professor cannot explain how either, because the professor is an expert in economics, but maybe not an expert in academic writing skills. And so the professor can't really explain either. I can explain. It's your redundancy level. Redundancy level determines the mark you get. Absolutely. Provided what you're saying is correct. I mean, of course, if you're making factual mistakes or you don't understand the subject, yeah, that's going to be a problem. But assuming that what you're writing down is true, your redundancy level determines the mark you get in your writing assignments. Absolutely determines it. And your redundancy level also determines whether people can understand you when you're speaking. That's why I say it's the key. It's the key to effective communication. Completely the key.